Hello, and welcome back to the Talk Pickle To Me podcast. I'm your host, Pickleball Chick, aka Kaitlyn Kerr, and I found pickleball in 2021. It absolutely changed my life, and I decided to start this podcast 3 years later than when I originally wanted to, but we are here now. I wanted to create deeper conversations in pickleball, allow the audience to connect with leaders in the space, and just share the absolute joy of the sport. I would really appreciate you supporting the channel by subscribing on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Feedback is greatly, greatly appreciated. Please leave all the comments, give us 5 stars, that would be awesome. And also make sure you are following us on Instagram at Talk Pickle To Me. Today, I am so excited to have my best friend on the podcast, Callie Simpkins. Callie Simpkins, I usually write like a very nice, well done, like a thought out description of each guest. And I was like, I knew that she's coming on here to interview me today. We'll definitely get into some of Callie. But anyway, with your best friends, you just kind of like shoot the shit and you don't really plan. I should have planned. But Callie is obviously the best guest that I'm having on this podcast. She is my best friend from Duke University. We both played soccer at Duke. She was 1 year older than me. There are a lot of stories that I'm sure we'll get into at some point, but the best way to describe Callie is that she is a pure leader. I remember when I was at Duke and I had no clue what I wanted to do with my life, and Callie always seemed, she would say otherwise, but she always seemed to have her shit together. Oh, and I remember when I had no idea what I was doing, she's like, oh my God, you should come and do sales and trading at a bank. Like, you would be so good at it. And I was like, sales and trading? Like, what is, I didn't even know what an equity was, what a bond was at the time. Callie had been trading stocks since she was like in high school. My dad tried to get me to do that. I obviously didn't listen, but Callie and I are very different in a lot of ways. Like, she is a rule follower. I think rules are made to break them. Just kidding. But anyway, so Callie grew up in Maryland, North Carolina, then went to Duke, played soccer at Duke, was the captain of the Duke soccer team. When she was a senior, I was a junior. After Duke, Callie went on to work at Goldman Sachs for 8 years? Yeah, 7.5 years. She is now at RBC. She is in distressed credit, but she's actually now switching to run a cross-asset sales team. Basically, she's a badass. She just became a managing director. If you guys, okay, many of you, I know most of you are going to not know what the hell that is, but it's basically like the highest title that you can receive in the banking industry, and she's worked so incredibly hard for everything that she has, and she deserves everything in the world and more. But moreover, all of those titles, she is just an incredible friend, sister, daughter, and an amazing leader. I want to get into pick Callie's brain a little bit about that going forward. But anyway, it is a pleasure to have Callie on this podcast to share her with the world. So thank you so much for coming on.
Wow. I'm like sweating. That was so kind. It's funny because I don't remember exactly when this was, but sometime coming out of college and starting in New York, I was trying to think about the different like weaknesses in my character, like weaknesses in my game, I guess you would say, overall. And I don't know under what construct it was, but at one point in time, I very clearly remember, and this is like Kaitlyn and I were obviously very good friends in college. We were teammates, but I would say we got really, really close in like end of 2017, beginning of 2018, sometimes when you're going through like really hard things in life, when you see who your true friends are. And I was going through a bad breakup, and like I feel like that's when we got super close. Mm-hmm. And I remember sometime around that time period, I was thinking about like weaknesses in myself, and I just remember saying like, you need to spend more time with Kaitlyn. Like and I don't know the rules around cussing on this. I was like, her attitude is like a don't give a fuck attitude. No rules. And I just remember being like, I need to spend more time with Kaitlyn. I need more of that energy in my life. And it's just funny how things like come to be. I feel like we've spent so much time together since then. And we actually, Kaitlyn failed to mention this, but we live like half a mile away from each other at the beach.
Greatest blessing.
Yeah, I've spent a ton of time with Kaitlyn. We've been teammates since 2010. You got to Duke.
Yeah.
And Kaitlyn said a lot of nice things about me. I will say to this day, she is one of the top 5 soccer players that I've ever played with. So I know most of you all know her as Pickleball Chick. And a great pickleball player, influencer, host, everything in the pickleball world. But we'll get into this too. Her previous life, she was definitely national team caliber soccer player and would have been on the U.S. women's national team. I would have put money on that, hands down. Definitely had call-ups multiple times during our college career, but unfortunately, and we'll get into this too, or a lot of injuries that sidelined her. So why don't we get right into it?
Okay, wait 1 second. I also just want to mention that we actually did live in New York City together.
We did.
Not in the same apartment or anything like that, but I mean, we also, like Callie said, we did get close 2017, 2018, but when I moved to New York, I felt like I leaned on you a lot because I was actually in high yield credit sales at a bank and she was in distressed credit sales. Anyway, very, very similar. So we had a lot of client overlap. And so we would go to a lot of client events together. Yeah. We would like host a lot of things together. And that was like a lot of fun. I obviously looked up to Callie a lot. Callie was grinding. Like I would be out going like out on Saturday night. And Callie would be like on her computer reading huge textbooks about distressed credit and balance sheets and all the nerdy things possible. Anyway, that was a time.
That was a time.
I had to mention that.
That's right. I kind of forgot about that. All right. So let's start with early life. So take us to Bucks County, Pennsylvania. You, Ron, Carol, Kevin. Kaitlyn has an amazing family, and her family dynamic is very, very cool. As an outsider looking in, there's so much love, and then they just absolutely rip on each other, which I'm sure is not surprising if you know Kaitlyn. But take us back to early life. Take us back to Pennsylvania. What was it like growing up in your household? Talk about your parents' influence on your life. Talk about your brother's influence on your life. Your family is super important to you and super tight. So just take us back. What was it like growing up in the Kerr household?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go back a little bit further. Before Bensalem, there was Northeast Philly. And I feel like that's really where my roots are. That like Bensalem is very similar to Northeast Philly, but if you say Northeast Philly, people are like, okay, we know who you are. But if you say Bucks County, people think you're like a different, like higher end, whatever. So I grew up, I originally was born in Northeast Philly. When I was young, maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 6 or something like that, my parents decided to move to Bensalem, which was like crazy move. My entire family is from Northeast Philly, and we're talking like row homes. My uncle was a cop. My dad, like, it was just a very Philly family. And that means you don't give a shit. You like fight for your family like no other. You're super into sports. We grew up very, very blue collar. My mom's a nurse. My dad worked for the government. So just very blue collar. My dad was also in the Navy. So they taught us like grit and hard work. Like if you want to do anything in life, you're just going to work super hard. My parents put a lot, and I mean a lot of pressure on academics. I went to phenomenal schools that my parents like could not afford, but just saw the value in it at an early age and wanted to get us, me and my brother, like give us everything possible. I don't think that they went on, I can't ever remember my parents going on a date, ever. Their love was giving everything to us, pouring into my brother in terms of academics and athletics. In terms of sports, we played every sport. There was not one thing that was held back from us. We traveled all over the country and the world. My parents gave up every weekend, taking us places, every weeknight, driving everywhere. So I went to Nazareth Academy grade school, which was probably like 15 minutes from us. And then I went to the Pennington School for high school, which was like a 45-minute drive. So my mom would drive me every day to and from until I got my license, and I was able to do that myself. But yeah, I would just say a lot of sacrifice. Another example is in our living room in our house. In our dining room, we never had a dining room table. That was our sports room. We also had a basement. And so we played a ton of sports. I would just go down in the basement with my dad. It was so competitive at such a young age. He would push me into the wall, like not in a bad way though. Like he just we love sports, and that was such a part of our family dynamic. Me and my brother would play all the time. I would literally beat up my brother. I would pinch him. I would call him names. And like, I just felt like it was getting him tougher. And like, to this day, me and my brother are best friends. But my brother was an incredible athlete, definitely different in terms of personality. I'm more outgoing and super social in some ways, also like my quiet time. But Kevin is definitely more sweet. Definitely super competitive, but just like he played ice hockey at Penn State, an amazing career. He would have played pro. He also had a really bad career-ending ankle injury. But he competed in like the Australia, was it the Olympic? I think he competed in Junior Olympics in Austria for ice hockey. So he was phenomenal. Went to the USHL. Like he left high school to go compete in the USHL, was drafted first round, like unbelievable. But again, I don't know why. It just seems like me and my brother had these crazy career-ending injuries. But I think overall, we just like love each other to death, do anything for each other. We really don't take anything to like too much to heart, like too seriously. It's very, you see us, we bicker, I want to say a lot.
Yeah.
But the dynamic is awesome. My parents would do anything for me. I would do anything for them. And yeah, I feel like I've tried to, like with my friends, like create that same like love overall kind of thing.
Yeah, no, you've done a really good job of it. I think like what I notice about your family is that your foundation of love is so strong that the bickering is just like fun on top of it, and competitive. You guys are very competitive. Like we can't even play Uno in Kaitlyn's family without like Carol screaming at Ron and telling Ron he's cheating, and or just like even with Kaitlyn, if we play card games and she's gonna lose and like I'm about to win, it's like she will be playing to defend me from winning or anybody from winning. Like it is, it's like her job. So it's pretty funny. I love that dynamic about your family and about you. All right. So then next thing, let's go on to Duke. When Kaitlyn came on her either unofficial or official visit to Duke, I think it must have been your unofficial visit. We knew that she was a big recruit, and our coach was like, we really want this girl. Make sure she has a great time. You know, you're going to host her. I think I totally dropped the ball at the end of that weekend. I was like, she hates it. She hates me. She hates North Carolina. Like the whole weekend, I felt like Kaitlyn was like resting bitch face. And I was very confused when she left. And then I heard that she was going to sign. I was like, whoa, okay. Mixed signals. Definitely would have thought she was not having a good time. And then she ended up committing, which was huge for us at Duke. But talk to me about that. Like, what was up on your visit? What did you think about Duke? What was your college recruiting process like? Literally every school in the country wanted Kaitlyn. And then you ended up picking Duke, despite me feeling like I completely dropped the ball on recruiting you there.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that I want to mention is this podcast is about pickleball, and I just had Lee Waters on the podcast, and Annalie Waters, number one player in the nation, number one player in the world, right? Pickleball. But her mom said that she really focused on developing the athlete first. And I feel like my parents did a phenomenal job of that with my brother and I. We did not focus on one sport literally until like the end of high school. Like I played ice hockey, basketball, softball, you name it, I played it. And in high school, I was on the basketball team, like scored 50 points in a game. Like I traveled the country for AAU basketball. Like softball was always playing and starting and whatever. So my parents definitely focused on that and like being competitive and just like loving the game, but they never pushed me in a bad sense. They pushed me to like do different things, like play on a boys team or play up a couple years or when I felt like awkward or whatever, but they never were overwhelming with it. And I think that was huge for my development. So my parents, or specifically my dad, really ran with the recruiting process. He knew I was playing up a year on my club soccer team, and my club soccer team was amazing. We won like, I don't even know, maybe 10 state championships, a couple regionals. We won a national title. And, you know, when we won the national championship, I guess, I can't remember when that was, but long story short, every single tournament we went to throughout the country, there were hounds of college coaches just surrounding it because we had an amazing team. And like I said, I was playing a year up. So a lot of the people on my team were getting recruited 2 years ahead of me because some were even like 2 grades older. And so I got a lot of action early. And the way the recruiting process worked back then, they couldn't really talk to me directly. They had to talk to my coach, and my coach, Eddie Lee, was like a second family to me. And so my dad really realized that, and obviously they put a ton of money into us growing up, but they kind of knew that I was going to get a full ride to college, and just picking the best college possible for me was, I guess, all of our end goal. And yeah, I was getting recruited everywhere. I think I would have loved to go to like an FSU, but I felt like I really pushed myself out of my comfort zone with academics, going to a private school for grade school and up, and then going to a private school in high school. And I kind of felt like FSU, I don't know, I just felt a little bit weird going there after I pushed myself so hard academically. And I thought Duke could open up a lot of opportunities from that perspective. But yeah, I went on so many recruiting visits because my dad thought I need to go to every single campus, see if I like it, what it would be like if I got, he literally said, what would happen if you got career-ending injuries and you couldn't play anymore? Would you still love it? He also wanted to make sure that everybody that was offering me a scholarship would continue to offer that scholarship even if I got injured.
Ron.
Psycho, like making sure every single negative possible thing that could occur is checked off the box, but also very thorough, and I very much so appreciate that. But yeah, and so when I went to Duke, I had been on, like I said, I was at like Notre Dame before, and I was like, these were like a consistent thing for me, and so I was just annoyed that I had to go probably on another one. I didn't want to leave high school. Like, even when I was in grade school, I loved grade school so much, I didn't want to go to high school. And then when I went to high school, I loved it so much, and I loved my area, I loved my hometown, I loved my friends. And I was, very different in high school. Like, I was a partier. I had a lot of fun in high school.
Can I just butt in real quick? Alex Cooper of Call Her Daddy was a freshman on Kaitlyn's high school soccer team when Kaitlyn was a senior. And Alex looked up to Kaitlyn in the way that she worked hard, play hard, party, and still a sick soccer player. So just to give you a sense of what Kaitlyn's DGAF attitude was like.
Yeah, it was definitely crazy. I was crazy. I was so fun and so energetic but so hardworking, both academically and athletically. And yeah, I think that laid the groundwork for Duke, but I thought Duke was stuck up. I thought it was snobby. I thought that everyone was super rich. And even though I came from a high school that was, most people were super wealthy, I definitely loved it and had great friends and winded up feeling great. I mean, the whole time I felt great there. I love, Bill Hockey, who's the headmaster there now. He's been the soccer coach, and Murph is the soccer coach there. They've done a phenomenal job with that program. But anyway, yeah, I just felt like it was stuck up. It was snobby. It was going to be way too much about academics, and I really cared about soccer. I wanted to go pro. That was my dream for as long as I can remember. Yeah. And so I knew that it would provide a balance of just excellence, of pushing me in soccer and then also pushing me academically.
Yeah. And was it what you expected it to be? Or when you got there, did you take to it more, talk about the development of actually getting to Duke, starting to play? Maybe you want to touch on your injuries, since I feel like you had one after every single season. And then, yeah, just your expectations of what it was going to be versus what it was.
Yeah, I think a big reason that I actually went to Duke was because of the coach, which many people say not to do. And I know it definitely wasn't the only reason by any means, but Robbie played a huge role, Robbie Church. I felt like he was very similar to my club coach, Eddie Lee, in the sense that he really cared about his players as people more than just the athlete. Mm-hmm. And I liked what he was building. I knew that Duke could be a national championship contender. They didn't play the exact style. Everyone at Duke when I was there was this is by far the best team I've ever played for. I'm I think my club team could actually have beaten the Duke team maybe once or twice. I played a very skilled game and seeing the field super well. And I think Duke played a little bit more direct in our era than I would have liked. But yeah, getting there was amazing. Definitely some of what I expected in terms of like, I wouldn't say that I felt out of place, but by that time I was done partying. Like I was like drinking in the woods in Philly in like 7th and 8th grade, 9th grade, whatever. At the end of my high school career, I was like done partying. When I got to Duke, I was over it. Yeah. And like all of these like super nerds from high school that never drank before in their life or never like went out were like going ham bone when they got to Duke and having the time of their life. And I like winded up working as a bartender at the
You have some ridiculous stories to touch on.
But yeah, so it was a lot of what I expected. This is a sad part, but like a lot of people I remember a lot of people that I was in classes with, not just athletes, they were super weird about food. Like they all had like food issues. And I think it was because they had this perfectionism and wanting to be the best in every single avenue. And Duke is a place where everyone's smart. Most people are super wealthy. A lot of people are attractive. A lot of people want to be the best they can be in every single area of their life, that there's just a lot of pressure. And I remember people like not eating pizza, or like it was like a big thing if you had pizza. Like that's super normal for people in Philly to eat pizza. And yeah, like the one defining thing that I would say is after college, when I was working on Wall Street in New York and my brother was at Penn State playing ice hockey, I went back and I was going out with them like all the time. I was like reliving my college years there.
I remember that.
It was so much fun. And Kevin's ice hockey team, every single person was on a group chat. And they would like send pictures of them like drunk from the night before, or like, I don't know, things that they thought were funny about each other, you know, that may have not been like right in line with everything that should have been happening, or just like crazy nights out. Yeah. The Duke soccer team would never have done that. Right. Because everyone would have been like, oh my God, I'm going to like, somebody's going to tell on me to the coach, or like, this looks bad on my persona, or I'm worried about what someone's going to think of me. Like, it was just very by the book. And I think I could have had more fun other places, but the experience of who I met and the relationships that I take from that and the doors Duke has opened is like, I would never choose to go anywhere else.
Yeah. Maybe like a good quick story to sum that up. And Kaitlyn at Duke was, we were playing Yale in a game. I think it was your freshman year. And like we're on offense. Kaitlyn's in the box. We have a corner kick. She's like kind of, you know, scruffing up with one of the Yale girls in the box. And the whistle blows because Kaitlyn had fouled this girl. But the way that Kaitlyn had fouled this girl was she stopped, two hands, shoved her in the chest. I think the girl fell over, and Kaitlyn just goes, "I'm not your average Duke bitch." And our coach wanted to lose it. He wanted to be pissed. But then he was pumped because he thought we needed more of that on our team, and like less rule followers, probably less of my energy at that point, and more of like Kaitlyn's don't give a fuck attitude. And I'll say Kaitlyn was the most clutch player. So we ended up going to the national championship my junior year, her sophomore year. I wish I had the stats in front of me. You scored an incredible amount of goals in that playoff run. Was for sure the most valuable player on our team in that run on that year. Got called up to national team camp after we lost in the national championship to Stanford, but you had to have another surgery, so you never quite made it. But like you said, your whole career was set up to graduate early, to go into the pro draft for the NWSL in January of 2013, I believe it was, right? Or maybe 2014.
Yeah, January 2013.
Yeah, January 2013.
Or no, sorry, January 2014. My last game was in December 2013.
That's right.
January 2013.
January 2014. And walk us through that moment where you had to decide, are you going to try to push it with your injuries and go play pro, or call it?
Yeah, so getting back into my injuries were before Duke. That's when it originally originated. So I was playing on FC Bucks Vipers, which was my club team my entire life. And it was the summer. So I had one knee surgery in high school, but it was a weird one off that was on my other knee. And then I had this knee surgery that was on I quote unquote, my bad knee, my left leg, before I went to Duke. And I basically was playing on turf. I was playing defense. My cleat got stuck in the turf and it twisted and I heard a pop. And if you hear a pop, you generally think that it's going to be an ACL. So ACLs, although it's bad, they're very fixable. Like so many girls have this problem. It's because of the way our bodies are shaped, our hips, whatever. So I thought when I did it, I was so upset. I thought I was going to be out for the count for the entire freshman year. Because it usually takes at least 6-9 months to rehab at least 9 months at that time. I don't know what it is now, but I got the news back that I actually tore my meniscus. So originally I was like, sweet, because I didn't really know how meniscus worked, but you have 2 meniscus in each knee. You have a lateral and a medial. And you can tear your meniscus in spots that you'll actually like never feel it. You could walk and be fine. And you can tear meniscus in spots that it like you feel it, but you can get surgery. You can just clean it up real quick and you'll be good to go. No big deal. But I went to L.O.T.E, who was the Flyers doctor, the Eagles doctor down in Philly, best guy in the area to look at my knee. And before he walked in the door, his resident walked in the door. Still remember this to this day. My dad was there and he walked in and he was like, basically you're screwed. Like you have the worst spot your meniscus could be torn. It is torn. It is direct on bone. So every time you walk, your meniscus is there to protect your bones from hitting each other, and you tore it in that exact spot. There's no blood flow. Even if we were to try to patch this thing up, it would tear immediately after because you're playing sports. Like we just have to take it out. So that was the start of just horrendous injuries and living in physical therapy. I think I had, like Callie said, I had so many different surgeries. I had microfracture surgeries. I had obviously like PRP, all these little, tricks of the trade to try to get it to be okay. And then in December, I remember we were at Syracuse playing. It was my senior year. And by the way, I like curtailed my entire Duke experience was all I remember, like majority of it was soccer and then living in physical therapy. And I would plan my schedules to like walk the least amount because Duke is like a pretty big campus and you have to walk a lot. And so anyway, it was horrible. My mom would always come up. I've had surgery after.
Yeah, I'll insert as well and say as a teammate, we used to tell Kaitlyn not to play in practice during the playoffs. Like we just wanted her to be okay for the games. And if you think about that, it's like, maybe 25 young women, ages 18 to 22. Everybody's competitive. Everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to feel like, oh, things are like being handled fairly. Like she was so good that all of us were like, no, please sit down. Don't practice. Don't run the fitness tests. Like don't come to lift. Don't do anything outside of just be good enough to step on the field to help us. And that was like, I remember you like didn't run fitness tests in college.
Yeah. I ran one, I think literally once. I think it was my junior spring I ran them.
I think we were all like cheering you on. You were running the 300s and we were like kind of laughing because you were terrible. And then like cheering you on and we're like, this is the best player in the country. And like, she can't run 300s.
Yes. Maybe there was 2 times. There was one time where that happened and I was like, oh my God, I cannot move. And like my knee is killing me and all of these things because I never had time to train. Like usually people build up strength and training during spring seasons. I think I had 1 spring season. And anyway, during that one time that I actually had the time to train and build back up and feel really good, I remember I was running, I think it was after you graduated maybe. Anyway, I ran all the tests and I was like the first or second person in all of them. Wow. And I was like, wow, this has never felt easier. No wonder what it's like to like actually train and feel good and put in the time and effort and, to do all of those things. But to go back to your original question of like, how did it feel? I kind of knew that my time in soccer was very limited because every year I had these surgeries and it was only a matter of time until it like was too bad. But during my senior year, I think it was at Syracuse, I remember we were warming up for the game. A simple pass to the person at the A team, they pass back. And I did an outside of the foot left shot, just like messing around, kind of like just seeing if I could curl it into the top left, whatever. And it killed. Like I specifically remember like, oh, and it always hurt. Like I was running on 800, ibuprofens throughout my entire career, which is horrific. But I remember that, and I remember calling Doc Toth and being like, something's up. And, you know, we got the MRI back, and she was like, you know, it's way worse. It's like bigger than a quarter. Like you're not going to be able to play anymore. You can make the decision if you want to continue to finish out your senior year or just like call it quits now. You'll get surgery. And I had this crazy surgery that I think only at the time, like Kobe Bryant had. They take your cells, grow it in a petri dish for a couple months, take part of your calf bone out, try to like, you know, mix it all up. And so I had that surgery in December 2013 and never played soccer since, which is a very, very weird feeling. I went to the draft in, I think that was like February or March of, what was that, of 2014. I graduated in December. I took all of these extra classes during summers and, you know, to prepare myself. But it was a very weird time because I felt like I felt like I was still at the top of my game mentally, and like I had all of the right tools in my toolbox. It's just like my body literally gave out. And there's no fix for it, unfortunately. So there's no meniscus repairman, and I've been living life without a meniscus. So I haven't ran since December of 2013, which is really, it just feels really weird to say. And since I've tried a bunch of different sports, I tried surfing, I tried golf with you, and my knee, like that torque hurt it. And that's truly why pickleball changed my life, because it was something that I could play again. It's super, like, you can play it competitively, but it's also super social. I met an incredible group of people now through this. It's taken me all over the world. And I just am so passionate and I love it so much. But it was a time to, what my left leg has taught me are like lessons that will go forever. For the rest of my life, and hopefully if I have kids one day, their lives, like just like what hard work and perseverance and passion can like get you through is pretty amazing. But you know, I'm thinking as I was talking, the one thing I wanted to mention is when we made that national championship run, like my knee was killing me. Actually, I don't even know if you know this, but my ankle was really hurting me, my opposite ankle. And so a lot of times when you have an injury on one leg, your other leg kind of tries to make up for it, because it's never going to be, I tried to build up all the strength and I was doing physical therapy all the time. But anyway, my right ankle was hurting me, and all the physical therapists and people at Duke were like, oh, your ankle, I've had a bunch of ankle problems too from basketball and high school and things. They're like, oh, you're just like, your ankle's bad because you're just not focusing on it. Like you're not doing the rehab, you're just focusing on your knee. And I'm like, no, like I know something's wrong with my ankle. So anyway, after the national championship game, I was like, I've had enough. Like, I need to see an ankle specialist, even though they like tried to set me up with an ankle doctor before at Duke. Anyway, my ankle was broken the entire season. You knew that?
I didn't know it at the time, but I think you told me this like a year ago, which is insane. It's insane. The amount of minutes that you were playing, the level that you were playing at, and you were doing it all on a broken ankle and a completely screwed up left knee.
Yeah, the ankle thing is crazy. And I just am mentioning this story because so many times in my life, I hear of people that are having issues that think something's wrong, and they're in a situation like Duke is an incredible university with an incredible medical program and so many people there to help, but only you really know your body best. And I knew something was wrong. I knew what they were telling me wasn't right. I had done physical therapy for decades, 2 decades by that. Like I was in physical therapy forever and I knew something was wrong. And so I'm glad that I like pushed and advocated for myself. And, even now in life, I always am trying to do that more and more. But, the health care systems are hard. And I would just tell anybody listening to make sure you know your body best and to definitely advocate for yourself when you can.
So there's a gap of 2014. So January 2014 to call it March 2021. Was that when you found pickleball?
Yes.
Okay. So fill us in on that gap, because I feel like a lot of people in your life probably know of you as this amazing soccer player that ends in January 2014. And then now people in this area of your life know you as Pickleball Chick. So, and Pickleball Chick really didn't hit the scene until 2022. So it's almost like a January 2014 to like March 2022 gap of Kaitlyn Kerr. Who were you in those years? What were you doing? Walk us through those 8 years.
There's not much good in them. I feel like, and it's so weird to say that because I always feel like I try to live and get the most out of life. Because I feel like life is the most precious gift. And as we age, it's very sad to know we are getting older, but at the same time, it's such a blessing. And I truly believe it's a privilege to have lived this long. And I know, because I've just seen, I weirdly have been to so many funerals in my life. Close, people that are super close, family members, whatever, relatives.
Kaitlyn
and then
also has strong feelings about funerals and thinks that there's a better way to do them. So that might be her next business venture. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah. If I wasn't Pickleball Chick, it would be like celebration of life specialist.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you go to funerals, and I've been to so many of so many different ages. Like, and I do feel like it should be, when I have a funeral, it's going to be a celebration of life, and there will be no sad black outfits only. It will be a party, and it will be super fun and active. But
pink and pickleball and golden retrievers.
Yes. But yeah, so that period of my life was just super weird for me. I went to work on Wall Street, which I did do between my junior and senior year. I did do a internship on Wall Street in sales and trading, which, if anybody doesn't know what that is, because I assume most people don't, if you've ever watched The Wolf of Wall Street, that was my life. Literally. Like, almost all of that was my life. So, yeah, I didn't do drugs, but it was crazy. And I worked in New York from 2014 to 2017. And then I took a job in Philly. Still in finance. I'm in financial advising now. And so that was a very different move. Like, going from being on a trading desk, which is what Callie is on, to working as a financial advisor, like the pace, the people, the travel, like I traveled all over the world. I went to like Sweden, London, I can't even remember all the LA, everywhere in the US, Kansas City. I remember going to all these crazy things. And yeah, I was like the only female on the desk. I was grinding. I was invited, we were talking about this the other day. I was invited to like every single dinner because they were like, oh, you're a normal, cool girl and there's no other girls here. Like, come on, you're coming. And I'm like, I'm running on very low sleep. I think that time also was like the worst. It was really bad for me mentally because I was working so hard at work and my knee was still like coming out off of college. Like, my knee was not great. And you know how it is when you're first starting on Wall Street. You're grinding. You're not getting home until super late. You're waking up at like 5 a.m. to get in at like 6:15 or something on the desk before people start coming in at 6:45, 7. And I just wasn't working out. I like kind of felt like I definitely still need to be doing physical therapy because my rehab from December 2013 was for a year for my knee. So anyway, it was an interesting time in my life. I was also like in this very serious relationship in the beginning and like was engaged, and then that got called off and went on my honeymoon solo, which highly suggest for anybody. Later in that, Callie always loves to talk about my Hawaiian boyfriend.
She went on her honeymoon by herself and then brought back a Hawaiian
That is not
man.
okay. That is not true. It was not that time. I went back a second time, and then he came.
So then she went back for him and brought him back.
No.
I mean, only Kaitlyn. And then she couldn't get rid of him. Then he was here, and she couldn't get rid of him.
First of all, he was like
Insane.
from a Hawaiian island, and I was like, oh, he teaches people how to surf. And he is like the prototypical Hawaiian. Like, if you saw him, he looks Hawaiian, he acts Hawaiian, he like speaks Hawaiian basically. And I kind of was like, oh, I want to give this guy an opportunity to like fully blossom into the person he's supposed to be. And he was training this guy that ran a hedge fund in New York. So I didn't even like really like him or want to be with him, but I was like, hey, you can stay in my place if you want to like try to work for this hedge fund. And I was just trying to push him to be what I thought was better. But like, anyway, he came, fell asleep like the first day on the job, got fired, then went to be a lifeguard in New Jersey, fell asleep on the lifeguard stand, got fired. And I was like, okay, this has just gotta go. But I tried, I was like, I want to give him every opportunity because I felt like he didn't have it. Like his family's like, anyway, it was me trying to be a good person.
You are. You're a great person.
That
was not the life for him. That's not the life for him.
He's still in Hawaii as a surf instructor. So if you go to Kauai, let me know.
Yeah. Kaitlyn will hook you up.
Literally.
All right. So you spent a few years on Wall Street, 3 years on Wall Street. You came back to Philly. Do you want me to double click on like your engagement that broke up, or like did we just want to scoot right past that? I mean, that's the story.
That is a story. By the way, I think he's a great person, but because of like, I don't know, I just feel like we're in such better places in our life right now. Like he's in a great relationship, I'm in a great relationship. Like there's no bad blood, there's nothing that is like left, I guess, of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like at the time, this is like not a lesson, but just something that I thought like you had one love of your life, and I thought he was the love of my life. And when that ended, I was like devastated, thought my life was over. And I'm so grateful for the place that I'm in now. And I could have never seen it back then. And I was also super young.
Yeah.
Very, very young. I would have been married 10 years this year, which is crazy. So yeah, I just feel like I'm a very open person, but with that part of my life, with strangers, I'm going to keep it a little closer, but good lessons.
Yeah, good lessons. So why don't we take it in this direction? Since you're in a great spot with your life now and super grateful for your life now, where are you now relationship-wise, life-wise, career-wise? What are you feeling grateful for? And yeah, tell us about your life now.
Yeah. So, I mean, pickleball really changed it. When I found pickleball in March 2021, that first day you were with me and we went to the courts right near our house. And the first day I was on that court, I just said, this sport's going to change the world. I need to figure out a way to get involved. And it took me an entire year to gain the balls to actually create Pickleball Chick. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know what I was going to do. But during COVID, I was just watching all these influencers and people online really put themselves out there. And honestly, I think Duke really limited me in that sense. I think I would have been out there a lot more if I didn't go to Duke. And so that's my only... Like I saw Alex Cooper do it and everyone was like, oh my God, she's so crazy. And I'm like, I kind of feel like I'm the exact same. And I just didn't put it out there because I never really cared what people thought. But on the internet, it was a little different for me. Mm-hmm. And anyway, when I finally got the courage to, basically create Pickleball Chick and start putting out weird, cringy videos and pictures because I knew nothing of what I was doing, I feel like that was really the change in my life. Mm-hmm. And it was a great change. I felt more me than ever, even prior. Like it felt like it was really me, like high school me, mm-hmm. like coming back, like just putting myself out there, being who I am, and getting back into sports. Like sports have always been, if there's anything that I know that I'm really confident in, that I'm really great at, it is sports. It's mm-hmm. being an athlete. It's thinking like an athlete. It's being involved, in the business side. Like that's something that I've loved. And so, I feel like that transitional period when I didn't have pickleball, when I didn't have anything, when I didn't have soccer, when I didn't have a sport to really focus on or love or be mm-hmm. passionate about, because unlike many people that played soccer that we're friends with, I never, ever got tired of it. Mm-hmm. I never got sick of it. I played from when I was 2 years old until the end of that college career, and not one time did I hate soccer. Not one time did I want to stop playing. Not one time did I not want to stay and do extra touches. Not one time did I want to, like, I stayed on the wall in my house for hours on end, counting to in the thousands of times how many I can hit it, do certain patterns on the wall. I never got sick of it. And so I feel like that's where pickleball is for me right now. But because of my knee, it's like, you know, how much can I really do it? I feel that's the big reason why I haven't gone pro or tried to go pro, besides from me being a little bit of a bitch and not wanting to quit my job because I'm scared of that financially. But
reach out if you want to fund Kaitlyn's professional career aspirations.
Yeah, that would be epic. I need like one backer. I know like tennis players have that, but yeah, so that's kind of, I don't even know, I just went on a tangent, but that's
what changed your life. It was, what are you grateful for?
Oh, grateful for right, yeah. Like, I mean, again, one of my colleagues that I work with said that she truly hit the lottery with her family. And if you have a great family, you have everything in life. And that is how I feel. I have the best family in the world. Of course, it's not perfect. Of course, you know, there's many issues, just like every other family, but truly could not have better parents. My brother's incredible. I love him. Everybody. So yeah, family is fantastic. We're all in good health. That's the second thing. Mm-hmm. Health is extremely important. I realized throughout all my surgeries, you don't have your health, you have nothing. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, that's definitely what I'm grateful for. Also gym. I've been with gym for 7 years now, which is 7 years in like the summer. So not 7 yet, but close to 7. And that has been like a beautiful journey, I would call it. Our dog Maverick, he's going to be 7 in May, which is another crazy thing. I got Maverick like right when I met Jim, not knowing, and like I had put a you know, money down on him before I even met Jim, and I bought this house before I met Jim, like a month before I met Jim. So everything just kind of like came right in that 2018 timeframe. But I'm really grateful for them and the life that we've kind of built here. I'd say I'm like still focused on what I want to do more in sports and how I want to evolve. I definitely want to have my own business in some sort soon. But trying to figure that out is definitely like, I don't want to call it a pressure, but it's definitely something I am sitting more with and trying to figure out.
Listening to you talk about all of this, it's like amazing to think about how many parts of your journey I've like seen and witnessed and been a part of, like from being there at Duke with your knee surgeries and you living in the training room and then like going and being clutch on the field, to you interning on Wall Street, you being on Wall Street, and that totally in between time of your life when you were trying to figure out a bunch of things and partying a lot. This was like party round 2 for Kaitlyn. It was high school and the bushes and the woods and in Pennsylvania, and then Wall Street. And then you finding pickleball, you going back all in on being in athletics and sports and building Pickleball Chick. And I just think Kaitlyn's a winner. So I'm always on your team and like always supporting what you want to do. There were a couple early Pickleball Chick videos that I can't say I supported. They were cringe, but so proud of you for doing it. I mean, I have none of that in me to put myself out there like that. So I've always just admired you for being you and literally not giving a fuck and putting yourself out there. I know we're probably running a little short on time. Okay. There's a saying that Kaitlyn and I have started each conversation with for the past, what is it now? It must have started in 2015. When did you leave Wall Street? 2017.
Yeah.
So actually maybe it was 2017. And it's called L.O.T.E, L.O.T.E. And the saying behind it, or the story behind the saying is living on the edge, L.O.T.E. And Kaitlyn was looking to leave her Wall Street job. She had been working on the street for like 3 years. So I didn't think I needed to like edit her resume. She was like, hey, can you just send my resume to couple people I'm thinking about a different seat. So she sends me her resume. I forward it to another one of my best friends who basically, I mean, he works in recruiting now on Wall Street. And he calls me within 2 minutes. And he's like, tell me about this girl. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. Like, she's my best friend. She's completely out of her mind, but in the best way possible. She's so authentic. Clients love her. People love her. I think, you know, where she's running into a little bit of a disconnect is if there's a managing director on the desk and she's an analyst and she doesn't like how they're behaving, she's just going to tell them to fuck off. And like that, there's a little bit of friction there. And she doesn't care. But that's what people love about her, is that like you're going to stand up for what you think is right and you're going to speak your mind. And you don't care who it is that you're speaking to. So anyway, he's like, okay, this checks out. I'm like, why? What do you mean? I'm like, what? I sent you her resume. What do you mean? He's like, well, on her resume, formal resume, under interests, it just says living on the edge. And I thought that was the most Kaitlyn Kerr thing of all time. I thought it was the greatest thing on earth. And I'm like, that's her. I don't even need to tell you about her. I don't need to explain. I don't need to even just go through what I just went through. That is her on her formal resume, trying to get a separate seat on Wall Street. Her interests are living on the edge. So he nicknamed her L.O.T.E, L-O-T-E. And the three of us, it's become a like tagline. It's become almost like a way of life. Like we have shirts, we have hats, we have socks. We have like my sister got us these like skateboard art things that say L.O.T on them. It's just become like truly a way of life in our friendship and in our friend group. But Kaitlyn really like carries the flag. I'm like a little bit more wimpy. But like I aspire to Kaitlyn's L.O.T.ness. So if anybody was wondering the story behind L.O.T, that's it. All right. So you walked us through a bunch of different eras, your early life, your family, going to Duke, soccer, sadly the end of your soccer career. You're like, I don't know what we're going to call that weird period of time where you were just, you know, without sport and feeling like maybe a little
traveling.
lost. Yeah, living, traveling, getting engaged, breaking up, like just experiencing things in life that that life throws at you. And then you find pickleball, you go all in, takes you a year to from finding pickleball to creating Pickleball Chick. And then you have been all in on pickleball since March of 2022, like all in. Walk us through the different opportunities and things that have come your way. I think sometimes it's a little hard to figure out like where you stand in pickleball because you stand in so many circles and doing so many things. So maybe like walk us through some of the top things that you've experienced in pickleball and then where you want to take it. I know you say you want to create your own business. Like obviously you've been doing this podcast. This feels like it is headed in that direction to be a business. But talk to us about the last few years of pickleball life.
First of all, thank you. Just talking to you, it's like pushing me to be more vulnerable on this podcast. Like I haven't felt like I need to be vulnerable with people here yet, but just like having this conversation is awesome. And also with somebody that I love so much, you're pulling things out of me that I don't think many people could or would. So I appreciate you. But yeah, so pickleball has, like I said, it's changed my life. I never thought that I would be able to experience a second passion in life. I thought after soccer ended, I don't want to say that life was over, but I remember being in New York City and being on a street corner, walking across the street with Laura Weinberg, one of our Duke teammates. And she was like in a new relationship. And I remember seeing her so happy. And I was like, oh my God. And she was like, oh yeah, like the best is yet to come. And I was like, my entire best is in my past. And like, I literally felt that way. I did not think the best was ever yet to come. And as sad or as amazing as it is, like pickleball truly changed that for me. I have never felt like the best is yet to come now. And I know that for a fact. But so started Pickleball Chick in February of 2022. So almost a full year after I found pickleball. And then since opportunities have been rolling in, so I feel like it was really taking that first step, despite everybody not believing in you. My family was shitting on me. My friends were shitting on me. I remember seeing like text messages from people like to you and other friends making fun of me. But I just kept rolling with it and rolling with the punches. I played in tournaments myself at a very low level. I was like 303. I think I started at 3.5. I remember going to the New York City APP, met Steve Kuhn, who was the founder of Major League Pickleball and the founder of Duper, the rating system. And I just went up to him and thanked him for everything he was doing for the sport, because I read every article and watched every YouTube video possible on pickleball at this time. And I just wanted to thank him. And then he was like, hey, I'd love to hire you. And I was like, I'm scared to leave my job. I don't want to go. I've built this career in finance, but I want to keep in touch with you. Kept in touch. And then when he was selling a team, obviously like Callie and I put together the ownership group for the team that we bought in Major League Pickleball, which was like truly one of the greatest experiences of my life, and something I'm so like proud that we did. Yeah. But also the worst time of my life when it came to an end. I honestly still feel like I am still recovering. Like, I am not the same person I was from July before July of last year until now. Like, I still am. Everyone's like, how are you not over it? And I'm still not over it. Yeah. But anyway, moving past that, like, I've had the most incredible partners on the pickleball side. I'm now partnered with Yola, partnered with Podplay. So I'm like an ambassador for a couple brands. One more is going to be launching pretty soon. So that's been incredible. I also, when I was getting my MBA, side note, during COVID, I was bored. I was like, hey, I think I'm just going to go get my MBA. So got my MBA during COVID, and there was one course that you could work with a nonprofit board of directors. It was called like Fox Board Fellows. And they wanted you to work with somebody in the Philadelphia area because I was in Philly. And I was like, that's cool, but I'm definitely not working for anybody in Philly. I'm working for somebody that I'm passionate about, and that's going to be USA Pickleball. I actually tried with USA Soccer. They denied me, which was crazy because I had like every connection in the book to be able to do that, but it was too haphazard. They didn't want it to be. And then I also tried with US Tennis, and it was kind of the same thing. Like, they were like, what is this? We don't want somebody like random coming in. And I'm like, okay, I also had a lot of connections there. And then USA Pickleball was like, yeah, come on, come on in. Pickleball just got hot like that the year prior. That. They didn't really, it was a lot, but I learned a ton. I looked at all national governing bodies of sport. So I looked at like 3 or 4 different sports, what they did well, what they didn't do well, and ways that USA Pickleball could implement new strategies to attract members and grow. They didn't really implement anything I said to them. But like, I did this entire case study on it, and it was amazing, great research, and met a lot of awesome people. But again, I just felt like I was putting myself in the right rooms, educating myself on so much with the sport. I did not know one single person when I created Pickleball Chick. I had 0 followers. Like, I didn't have any connections. I barely played the sport and just like dove all in. So I feel like I got a lot of opportunities. Obviously owning a team was incredible, GMing that team, being ambassadors for a lot of different brands within the sport. I just did like my first vacation, or I don't know what you want to call it, like brand trip. Yeah. That was like, an amazing experience, and something that made me feel really grateful, and like kind of how far I've come with it to be able to like take Jim on a vacation, also get paid to do it. And I want more of those opportunities, but I definitely need to like hone in on my social strategy. And then, yeah, from this podcast perspective, this has been like a true joy for me. When I found pickleball, when I created Pickleball Chick, I wanted it to be a podcast. I think somebody that you connected with me with in finance, and I had a conversation with him, and he's like, it was when I was interviewing a lot of the pros on my Instagram, doing Instagram lives. Yeah. And I wanted to create a podcast with it, but I got all the podcast equipment. I was like, holy shit, this is a lot to do in terms of like the work, the editing, the filming, the planning, the scheduling, on top of getting my MBA, being with the team, and then also working. So I kind of like axed the podcast, and now I brought it back because I feel like I'm in a unique situation where I have the most amazing connections and network from this sport. And I have a lot of, opportunities, and really it's to share my network and knowledge with the world and like share the joy of the sport with as many people as possible. So that's why I created it. We just got done the 10 most influential women in pickleball series, which was incredible. If you haven't watched those episodes, I definitely go back. Probably a couple, like Lee Waters was a great one. That was the most recent. Anna Bright was another really good one. There's a ton in there that were phenomenal, but really highlighting women in the sport, because although there's equal pay on the playing front between the male and females, there is definitely not equal opportunity yet on the business side of things. I think, we came from a soccer background, and if you looked at soccer 10 years ago or 11 years ago when I would be entering the draft, the teams were, poorly run. A lot of the ownership was male. A lot of the coaches were male, and you're seeing that change dramatically right now in the NWSL. And so I hope that's what's to come for this sport. I think just in sport in general, it's not a pickleball specific thing. There's a lot more males involved. So that's something I'm proud of, for us to be involved as females in the sport. But yeah, I want to drive that. I want more access for women, more opportunities. I think there are definitely, I'm not for diversity in term, diversity just for diversity's sake. I want qualified people in roles. But I do think that there is something to be said about, there's one female GM right now. There's hardly any female owners. There's zero women in the C-suite across. I should say Beth Bellamy is a founder of NPL, which is like the senior pro tour that they developed. Mm-hmm. But aside from Beth, I don't think there's one woman in a C-suite position in pickleball. There's no one on the board of directors at UPA. Like, that needs to change. There's people that have the ability and capability. So that's kind of what I want to do. But yeah, from a business perspective, this could be something I need to push it further. I need to, there's so many things I could be doing, like having an agent, like having a really good agent that I trust, that I know that can get my brand out there. I know that if I wanted to be a host, I could be the best host in the world. I feel like I'm a great host.
Great host.
I've only gotten amazing feedback on that. But like, I could be hosting anything, and it's like, I need to lock in those deals. I need to speak to the right people. And sometimes it's like, I advocate for myself and I'm smart enough to negotiate my own deals, which I've done up until this point. But it would be helpful for me to have somebody that I can bounce ideas off of and like see what other people have done in different industries, like have a regular dialogue with somebody. And I just feel like sharpening those skills are important. We were debating whether or not to build pickleball courts how many years ago. And I feel like, that was a missed opportunity on our part. There's courts everywhere. It would have taken a lot of work and sacrifices and things like that. But I just tried paddle for the first time yesterday. And that's something I'm really interested in right now. I actually think we're at the very beginning. We're almost where pickleball was when I first found it in paddle in the US. Yeah. I'm really interested in diving into that sport right now.
And by paddle, there's so many racket sports. Some people call it padel, maybe some paddle. But yeah, Kaitlyn and I played yesterday. I've played 2 or 3 times over the past 2 or 3 weeks, and it's definitely addicting. And I could see that also being another really good business opportunity going forward. It's pretty developed in like South America and Europe, but the US still feels like really young in terms of that hitting the scene.
I have a question for you about me.
Okay, let's go.
What do you think are some of my strengths, and what do you think are some of my weaknesses, both as like a person and a business?
So your strengths are your attitude. Like, you are such a winner, and I feel like you do it in the right ways. Like, some people, if you just think about Wall Street, like, there are some people who will like try to win at all costs, and they'll give up being a person of integrity, or they'll give up being like a person of strong character, or somebody that supports somebody else at the expense of winning. I feel like you win in all the right ways through like hard work, a really like persistent attitude, positive attitude, and I feel like you also do a good job of like balancing a lot of things in your life at a really high level. And so I feel like you, even if you don't feel like you are prioritizing your time. Like you're very, very good at like focusing on the things that are going to move the needle the most. Like the amount of things that you're able to do at one time at a high level has always like really impressed me. And then if you look at her phone, she's got like 45 unread text messages, and I'm like going into an anxiety attack, and she's like, yeah, like I don't need to answer these people. Like it's not important. And I'm like, wow, you really focus on what's important, and like you don't give a fuck about the things that aren't. And I just feel like you're very, very good at that. And you're like, these people can wait, and you focus on the things that matter. And I feel like that's why you've been able to do so many things at a high level. So I think that that's like a huge strength of yours. You are unafraid to be yourself. Like you are you always in every situation in front of every person. And I find that to be a huge strength of yours because I admire that so much about you. Maybe some people would think that part of that is a weakness because when you get in certain rooms where you have to cater to other people's egos to get your end goal or like get you closer to your end goal, you can't play the game. Historically, you can always be a different person tomorrow.
Why can't
you can always be a different. You can always
need to learn
execute a different strategy tomorrow. But historically, Kaitlyn is not going to play any sort of long game to achieve a goal that she wants to achieve. Like if it's on her mind in that moment, it's coming out of her mouth, and that's what I love about you. But some people who might not be as confident in themselves or like might need some ego stroking aren't going to like that and might have the power to change outcomes for you. And so in certain situations, I think it's good to like take a breath, take a step back, think about like how you would in any other situation. Like if I need to win here, what's the strategy? And that could be a weakness at points in time. I guess the beautiful thing about sports is like you can just be yourself in that way. You don't have to hold back. And like when you're thinking about strategy, it's like actually thinking about, okay, like where's their defense weak, or, you know, how can I win balls in the midfield? Or if it's in pickleball, it's like who's the weaker dinker. But like in life, sometimes in business and strategy, it has to be like, who do I have to make look good? Who do I have to appease? Who's trying to look good to their boss? Who's insecure? Who can actually make the decisions? Who can't? Like, who do I have to update regularly? Who do I need to check in with once a month? Like, there's a different strategy, and like, you haven't developed that, and you might not want to.
Don't have that sounds miserable.
You might just have to work for yourself, which is what we're working on here. And other strengths, I mean, you're such a good friend. You're so thoughtful. You love life. You're so grateful for life. I feel like you do things that you want to do, and you're never gonna like change for other people. You're never gonna do something to even appease someone else. And yeah, I mean, you're my best friend, so I don't see a lot of weaknesses outside of the.
Give me more. Give me more. Give me more.
I mean, sometimes you're the way you talk to Jim. Jim, shout out. Love you, Jim. Jim's like a brother to me. Sometimes Kaitlyn is a little abrasive with Jim, and he will give it right back. But sometimes, you know, Jim will walk in, she and I will be hanging out, like we'll be having dinner, Jim will be coming in late, and instead of like, oh my God, so great to see you, how was your day? It's like, get in here, we've been waiting for you, get this food. It's like, he's like, Jesus, I just walked in from work. There's not like a whole lot of lovey-dovey right there off the bat with Kaitlyn and Jim. There's a lot of deep love, and I feel like it's like your family. There's like the deep love to where you can like shit on each other, but sometimes as like an outsider looking in, I mean, I'm on the inside now, but like prior, on the outside looking in, you can be like, whoa, like give him a hug, give him a kiss. Just be nice. Like, just be nice right before you go in. And then you can be mean. Or
Never
like,
gets the niceness.
He doesn't get a lot of the niceness. But it's funny. And he's a trooper. And I can't imagine you with anyone else.
He's He's a trooper. That's what you said.
He's a trooper.
Okay.
One other weakness. Just let me hit on this. Kaitlyn and my mom has this too. They have this. It's like an illness. Actually, this might be an illness.
This is like really exposing me.
You're about to get exposed. Kaitlyn has this thing where if someone has like a tick or like eats too loud, and so she gets on Jim all the time about smacking his lips eating a peanut butter sandwich. It's like if someone eats too loud, or if someone's like hitting their bowl when they're eating and making a noise, or like what's something else that you get like so fixated on? She gets clearing your throat. People on the trading floor. I mean, you're sitting this far away from 100 people. Everybody has something, and Kaitlyn could like find the smallest thing like that, and she could not get it out of her head. And then she's like, "Did you not hear that?" And I'm like, "Hear what? What are you talking about?" And you're like, "He was clearing his throat for an hour." And I'm like, "How did you hear that? What are you paying attention to? What? Like, how does that even become a thing?" But anyway, it is a thing.
It's terrible.
It's not even a weakness. You just like, I don't know. You need to
No,
figure it out.
It is a weakness because like, honestly, my mom, we are very in tune. Like, I think I have a very high EQ.
You do, yeah.
Like, I can, just by hanging out with somebody once, I feel like I can understand them pretty well. And we just look at, like, my mom enjoys, like, just people watching. And I wouldn't say that I enjoy that. That's not a hobby of mine. I'd way rather spend my time in other ways, more productive ways. But if I'm in an area or in a group, like, I cannot help but notice different things. And I want my brain to be able to tune out these insignificant noises or habits, or I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
It is so difficult. I have talked to therapists about this. I have been like, what do I need to do? They're like, focus on something else, go into a different room, whatever. I cannot. Just like, is it that hard to keep your mouth shut when you chew? Is it that hard not to clink the like, Jim will put yogurt into a glass, like, to-go bowl for work. And then, like, if he won't finish it, he'll come home and he'll eat it. Like, last night, I heard him clinking the yogurt bowl. And I had to close the bedroom door because I heard the clink. And I'm like, but why? Like, can't you just eat that like a normal human?
All right. We will leave that question unanswered. And you can follow up in the comments on every tick that you notice about people that Kaitlyn should have on her radar going forward.
Okay. Do you have any more? Because I want to ask you a few.
I mean, I can do this all day, but we should probably not do this that much longer.
Okay. There are so many things that I want you guys to know and understand about Callie, and we probably need to do a separate podcast at some point about Callie because there's so much to dive into. But Callie has been able to operate at the highest level at work for such a long time, and it is incredibly impressive to me. Your hard work has brought you to where you are, but the ability to maintain that work ethic in that environment is exceptional. And I want to know, like, you do it. You said this about me, but I feel this about you. You do it in the best way possible. Like, you have kept your integrity the entire time. You have been the best boss. I would love to have you as a boss. You would be the best boss to work for because, like, people definitely have to want to work for you because you give so much to them. Like, it's service leadership. That's what we were taught at Duke, and that is what you embody in the workplace. So talk to me a little bit about how you view leadership and how you've implemented that in your life.
Well, first, thank you. And I'm building out a new business, so if you really want to come work for me, we can talk about that. I would say a couple things. So when Kaitlyn says we were taught service leadership at Duke, she's probably mostly talking about Greg Dale, who passed away, 2 years ago now on Thanksgiving. And I worked a lot with Greg when I was at Duke. So when I first came to Duke, I joke with people in my class. Kaitlyn was one year younger than me, so the 6 other awesome teammates that were in my class would say that I was probably a very different person on my official visit, and my freshman preseason coming into Duke than I was the rest of the time. So I came in pretty highly recruited. I thought I was like God's gift to the soccer field. I had all these like very personal goals, like all ACC freshman team. You know, I had just gone to my first national team camp in the summer of 2009. So I thought like, okay, I'm breaking in. Like I was in the best shape when I came to preseason. All of my like tests were kind of like off the charts. I remember Chelsea Canepa beat me in like some broad jump, and I was like pissed. But pretty much every other athletic endeavor, my freshman preseason, I felt like I was in a really good spot. We had our first exhibition game, and I was the first person off the bench. I came in for Elizabeth Redmond, who was like our All-American center mid.
So good. And
so I was like, wow, I'm like in a really good spot here. I'm going to really develop. Like I'll hopefully be regular in national team camps. And then the day after that preseason game, I tore my ACL in practice. So I actually tore a lot of other stuff on the side of my knee that's usually not part of an ACL tear. So it was the posterior lateral corner, which is not PCL. It's like some other really random weird thing. So it actually took me 11 months to come back from my injury, and I had to stay at Duke my whole freshman preseason and whatever. We're not going to get into all that. Other than it was just like a very, very life-changing and like challenging moment for me in my life, and I worked with our sports psychologist a lot through that time frame. And then kind of just stuck with him after that about like, what's my role on this team now? Like, I'm not really the player that I was before my injury. And I think a lot of that was like more mental than it was physical. And I knew that I wanted to be a big part of what we were building and what we were doing, but it needed to be in a different way. Like, we ended up recruiting the number one player in my position at the time. Remember Kelly Cobb came in, and she was like the Alaskan assassin. I was like, all right, something is going to change here. And I got to figure out like which way I'm going to take this. And so I just decided that I was going to be the best leader possible for our team and like do whatever I needed to do to help us win, if that was going to not be as much on the field as I thought it was going to be. And so, yeah, I just remember on that national championship run, we had a practice before, maybe it was the Sweet 16 game at Duke, and all the forwards were like lining up and just taking shot after shot after shot, and I ended up like going behind the goal, like skipping my place in line to shag balls for Kelly, because she was just like ripping shots, and obviously some of them were going long and over and whatever. And Robbie was like, Callie, what are you doing? Like, get in the line, like take shots, whatever. And I'm like, Robbie, like, let's be real. She needs to be taking way more shots, like, and someone needs to be getting the balls. And like, if we're gonna win, Kelly needs to be on. And so I'm actually, I think, better used back here, like shagging her balls than I am like taking up time in the shooting line right now. And he didn't really like that response, but I felt like that was right. And that was kind of like my attitude from that moment forward. It was like, all right, Kelly, like our national championship is like riding on you being on, because I remember she had played in the World Cup earlier that season. She had some injuries she was battling through. She was feeling super burned out in our playoffs. And like we just really, really, really needed her. And I feel like that's what I was good at. I was good at like finding the person who could like make a huge difference for us if they were given more support and if they were like tapped into in the right way. And I just felt like she was that person during that run. And like, how could I use my influence to help in that way? So that was, that kind of like changed my whole outlook on leadership and like what's important. And I know there's been several sports speeches about this, but like as time passes, people really forget what your stats were. And like 100%. If you were all ACC or if you were an All-American, like people just remember how you treated them and like the times in the locker room and the times like traveling. And it's funny, I think one of the Boston Celtics talks about this as his career like progressed. If you ask anybody on Wall Street right now, or like somebody will like introduce me sometimes, like, yeah, she was an All-American at Duke, and I like go to be like, no, I wasn't. But it's just like how people think about you as time goes on, what the stories they tell themselves based on like how you handle yourself, how you carry yourself. Like somebody probably thinks like I was on the national team at some point, or somebody probably thinks I was an All-American for sure. I've been introduced like that. And nobody cares. Nobody knows. Nobody remembers. And like somehow like the story about how good of a player I am just keeps getting better as I get older, which is great. I'm happy to have that. But I don't know. I really am like sensitive to good leadership, and I want to be a good leader. And I think like, yeah, the only way to do that is to help other people. And I've had some awesome bosses and people that did that for me.
Mentors. Your mentor
Amazing
list.
Mentors.
Best mentor list in the entire world. And that says a lot about you, for them willing to sacrifice their time, their energy, their like network.
Thank you.
To support you. It's unbelievable. It like gives me the chills, your network.
I'm so lucky for the people that I've been able to work for and been around. Like really, really, truly lucky for them. And there's several clear people that come to mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like picking up all the things from good leaders and bad, things that you want to emulate and replicate, things that you don't, things that you never want to do, never want to be, are just as powerful. So that's how I think about it. It's really just like helping other people achieve their goals, will like inadvertently get you maybe closer to where you want to be or closer to your goals. But at the end of the day, like, what is all of this for? Like, you know, it's how people are going to remember you, how people are going to talk about you when you're not there. And how you make them feel. So that's, and people are going to want to run through a wall for people that they know have their back.
Yes.
And so that's what I've always tried to do. I mean, not always, but like ever since my injury, truly, like that's what I try to do.
That's amazing. And I think a lot of people can take a lot away from service leadership and the way that you've embodied yourself from that moment since I've known you forward. The other thing I want to hit on is you've done some exceptional things in your life outside of the workplace. Callie did a boxing fight. Haymakers for Hope. She won. It was the worst night of my entire life watching her in the ring. If you ever care about somebody a lot and they go into a boxing ring for the first time and you have to watch them and potentially get knocked out, it's very hard. Even though I've watched boxing matches, wrestling matches. It's definitely different when it's like your best friend. But anyway, outside of the fight and how hard she trained for that, she raised like the most at the time for cancer research out of anyone. I think it was like over $250,000, which is insane. She's done marathons. She's done, oh my God, rim to rim to rim. I'm missing a lot more, but like, talk about your mentality and like what it takes to wake up every day. Callie is the most disciplined person in my life. If there's one word that I can use to describe Callie outside of like all the nice words, discipline's still a nice word, but her discipline level is higher than anybody. It's off the charts. She shows up every single day. She doesn't want to. She's tired. Shit's going wrong in her family. She doesn't feel well. She shows up. She gets up. She works out still like every day at 5 a.m. She has trainers. She puts systems and processes in place to get shit done. But I just talked a lot about like that, but talk about your discipline, the way you work out, the way you see doing hard things a lot.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't know if this is like the right or the best way to do things. I'm spending a lot of time. I actually just downloaded this like Harvard Business School white paper on like what would it look like if this was easier, which is like that's a whole side thing. Like maybe there are easier ways to achieve the results than like how I historically have. But historically, I've only known how to do it through discipline. So what is exactly the question? Like, how do I think about it? I just...
Like, why do you wake up every day at 5 a.m. to work out?
Got it. So there's a couple things. One is moving my body and exerting myself physically actually is like, I need it to feel like good and not anxious during my day and at work. And there's an element too of the trading floor environment for me is like a very overstimulated, intense environment. Like some people naturally can slot really well into that. I feel like it's a battle for me every day to like be there and to perform. And so I treat every day like game day, and I prepare myself for every day at work like game day. And it's always been that way for me. So like when I graduated and went on to Wall Street and realized and made a call that my soccer career was over, I feel like I had some regrets about how I mentally either like bounced back or didn't bounce back from my injury, and like what I like made and didn't make of my soccer career. And when I had this opportunity to go to like what some people would say is like the best desk at the best bank in the best city, I was like, all right, like this is my professional career, and like I'm going to make this my sport, and I'm not going to have any regrets about how I handle this and perform this, and I'm going to treat this like I probably wanted to treat my soccer career, or should have treated my soccer career. And so, yeah, that loop has been in my mind since 2013 of like, this is my sport and I'm going to do everything. This is my sport now. And I'm going to do everything that I can to like be the best at this, the way that I my whole life wanted to be the best at soccer. And so, yeah, that was like the premise for, well, how am I going to feel good? Okay, I need to like get my energy out and like get my body moving before I get to the floor. Why? Like, okay, you're already going to be doing something hard that puts you like a leg up in terms of like confidence and feeling like, all right, I've already done something harder than all these people here. Like this might be an easier environment for them to operate in than me, but like I'm tougher. And so like I got that on my side. It's just like building like little bricks of confidence. Okay, these people might have studied finance. They might like know more than me. I'm going to go and get a tutor and study on the weekends. Like that's going to build confidence. Okay. What's like the next thing? Okay. Like I probably got an account list at a really young age because my boss became a partner and the clients liked me and asked for me and I wasn't ready for it. And when they asked me if I like wanted to start covering my own accounts, I like every bone in my body said no, but I was like, no, opportunities don't come up this much. Like even if you don't feel ready, yes, go for it, take it. And so I think it's more of like it's a building confidence and like getting rid of anxiety thing in the mornings for me as like part of treating my job like a sport. And just like sort of keeping the promises that I make to myself, like builds that confidence. And that's just one of them. It's kind of a non-negotiable. It's just part of my life now.
Yeah. It's incredibly inspiring. I feel like everybody that you meet that I know, or even like friends that we have together, they'll always be like, oh my God, what's Callie doing next? It's always something crazy. It's always something big. But like now I feel like you're taking your nutrition and your exercise to a new level. You're walking, normal people try to get like 10K steps daily, which is hard. I actually do get it because I have Maverick, and Maverick, I have to walk a ton, which actually, when you're saying what you have to do daily, like before work, that's how I feel like Maverick is. Maverick needs to get all of his energy out.
I feel you, Mav.
But yeah, I feel the same way in that way. But what was I saying? I'm forgetting.
Just like normal people try to get like 10,000.
Oh, 10K steps, and Callie's trying to get like 15 to 20K. I don't even know what you're averaging now.
You want to see how weird I am?
Yeah, she has
carry a pedometer.
This is the weirdest thing ever. She not only carries this weird thing that is like from 1920. I mean, it's not from 1920. She just bought it, but she also bought it for everybody in her family and gifted this, a pedometer.
They wanted them. They didn't know that they wanted them.
27,917.
To be fair, that's over 2 days because, yeah.
Oh.
I didn't reset it.
Okay. But still, anyway, she's crazy. And you're doing that. You're getting super tight on your diet.
Except when I ate a bunch of chocolate the other night.
You do
don't get me near chocolate, otherwise I'm pretty tight.
Yeah, so I just feel like you're constantly iterating the next challenge for yourself.
Yeah, I think that's right. I can't tell you exactly like why or what I'm going after or what I'm seeking, other than like life seems to be pretty short. There's a lot of things that I want to do. Most of that stuff has to do around like physical challenges and seeing cool places and doing. it's like type 2 fun for me. Like I find it enjoyable to do like challenging things and hard things. And then it's more about the process. Like all of these things that I've done, it's like cool, you get to the finish line of the marathon or the triathlon or the rim to rim to rim, or you finish the boxing fight, and it's like it lasts, you know, the feeling lasts for a couple hours, maybe a day, and then the next day it's like, all right, what's next? And but then you look back at like the journey, like the 5 months of training for my boxing fight, I documented every day of it, and I like loved the process so much. So I think like the next chapter of all this is trying to find the things that I actually like just love the process of doing and focusing more on that. And a lot of that has to do with like fitness and physical training, and those, it's just like, I love it.
I love that. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Last and final question that I have for you, and maybe we can spitball back and forth, is just like goals for the next couple years. So Callie, another strength of hers, and I actually think it's a reason why you've been so successful, is that you've consistently laid goals out. You not only think about your goals, but you write them down. You talk to mentors about them who hold you accountable. Many people say they're going to do this. Many people want to do that, but many people don't follow through. And that is a massive strength that you've had. So you got the MD title.
Yeah.
Woo woo.
Thank you.
You are living a great life. You are at such a young age still. What are your next goals? She also has like done a lot of venture deals. She's involved in many other businesses. So like, what's next? What's the next like 2 to 5 years look like for you?
So it's funny that you bring this up, because I've had like a very, very robust goal setting process for really like the last 12 years. And this year is the first year that I like deliberately didn't write out like the 5 areas of my life and the, you know, 3 things under each of the 5 categories that I wanted to focus on. Almost because I feel like having so many different areas to focus on made it where I was doing maybe like 10 things really well, and then feeling like I was making 0 progress in the other, you know, 20. Mm-hmm. And from an outsider's view looking in, I quote unquote achieved a lot of things. So like, you know, I achieved X amount of success in my career, X amount of, you know, whatever, buying the house, getting whatever. And I think that there's a lot, I would say there's a couple areas of my life that have been like underdeveloped as a function of spending so much time on my career. And it went basically from like being all in on soccer as a sport to being like all in on Wall Street as a sport. And that it was like kind of everything else in my life was revolving around that to some degree. I would say the exception is that I always was like very focused on my family and friends. Yeah. So like outside of work, I have amazing friendships, and my mom and my sister and I are super, super tight. And I kept the list of people, like I would literally keep a list of people in my friend group that like I wanted to focus on. Mm-hmm. And it's like a tight list. And the list is tight, but like so right is what I would say. And I've been like hesitant, I think, to let like too many other people or things or experiences like quote unquote into that, or like thinking that every, you know, any new person that's gonna come into my life like has to fit into like what I've already built or what I've already done. So yeah, this year is a little bit more about like free flowing, and I think if I have one goal, it's really just like working with my health and fitness coach on my like next stage of fitness and nutrition. But one thing that he and I have been working on, which comes back to you, is having a fuck it mentality. Like he literally checks in with me, because we were digging into a few things, and I'm like, I need somebody to hold me accountable to stop overthinking some things and just be like, fuck it and go do it. And he will literally text me in the middle of the day now and be like, what fucking thing are you doing right now? Like, you have to report back to me on Sundays, and like, not just your, you know, protein and steps and this, but like, you have to tell me the fucking things that you're doing. And so if I gotta say something, one thing for 2025 is like, I typically like stay to myself, like play in the lane, like have my goals, do my thing, but like, I'm gonna have some more fuck it moments this year.
I love it. I love it so much. No, that's awesome. I feel like you becoming a managing director was a huge goal for you for so many years. And I don't even know, I think it was like the peak of, it's not like the peak of your career, but you wanted that. And I feel like that was your goal at like starting off to get there. And now you've gotten there. Now you're like, okay, I can like actually smell the flowers. Like, literally, metaphorically, you want to do more things that feel good to you. You know, maybe like your relationship side of things hasn't been explored. Like you haven't pushed yourself in that area. Like if there's one area that I feel like you could push yourself more in, it's definitely that. So I'm so excited for you.
Thanks.
So many good things to come. You definitely like traveled a lot, but that could be cool too. Like seeing new places. Yeah, like I said, she was involved in venture. I definitely have, I don't know if I've had like too much of the fuck it attitude.
You live a fucking attitude. You are a fucking attitude.
I actually, this is like maybe too much for this pod, but I've like had anxiety. I forget what we were talking about before. We were talking about this last night, I think, how I had anxiety for my first time like years ago. But the last couple of weeks I've had like major anxiety, and I've never had that. I've always been able to sleep through the night. I haven't been able to sleep as much, which is like super weird. But I think it's because I've gotten like weird numbers back on like my thyroid and, you know, some other levels that are just off. And again, I feel like when you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And these are seemingly small. Like Jim is like, Kaitlyn, this is not like the end of the world. There's way worse situations. And I always used to say that about my knee. People used to be like, Kaitlyn, I cannot believe this happened to you. You were going to go pro. I'm like, there are way worse scenarios. Like my brother's friend died at 15 years old from brain cancer. And like, there's so many things that could go wrong. And so I know this isn't like a major issue, but to me, it feels really, really heavy right now. And so, yeah, like a goal for me this year is to like get my health in check, get correct doctors that like align with the way that I want to take a more holistic approach. So that's definitely something on my radar. And then, like I said, I think building like something in the sports world that I can like call a full-time, not even just like a full-time, but like I can live off of if I ever wanted to like not do finance anymore in some capacity. And I feel like that can be driven off of my passion more so than anything else, because when I talk about sports, I am loving life. And that feels most authentic to me. So that's what I want to dive into more.
You don't want to talk about IRAs and 401ks and
I do believe the one thing that we can definitely both mutually agree on is that financial freedom is our number one priority. And having financial education at a young age, honestly, my dad taught me what I knew at a young age. I don't know who taught you, yourself. But if it wasn't for that, I'd be in a way different scenario. And I just think, you know, we helped out actually a lot of people during COVID, our friends and family, like transform their lives by very simple, actionable steps in finance. But yeah, I do love 401ks and IRAs, but I love sports. And I feel like that's my true calling. So, is that it?
You're the best.
You're the best. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
This has been so much fun. I feel like we could talk for another hour. So if you want to see Callie on more pods, comment.
Throw me a like. No, seriously.
Send her a DM.
You're the best. You're the best friend.
Where can people find you? At CSim6?
I'm not really on. Please don't DM me. I won't answer you. You can find me if you want to come hang out in Jersey with Kaitlyn. Swing by my house. We'll have some food. We'll dine together.
Yes.
I'm like trying to do less on the internet and more in person.
You
So,
are. You're
yeah.
doing a good job of that. But anyway, thank you guys all for joining another episode of Talk Pickle to Me. Before we end this,
You have to say
you
it.
have to say
Talk pickle to me.
She's like, I'm making you say that. So here it goes. Talk pickle to me, baby. Let's go. Thank you again so much. A couple of my friends have said that like I haven't been enough energy into this podcast, but like there's definitely different sides of me, and I hope you're getting the full picture of who I am. Like I am crazy and I am that host, but I'm also like serious and I enjoy like being a lifelong learner and like having deep conversations. So this podcast is an outlet for me to be able to do that. So thank you guys so much for joining in. Please make sure you subscribe, please. So many people are watching, and I appreciate it. And follow us on Instagram at Talk Pickle to Me. If you want to see any new guests, please hit me up. Let me know.
Yeah.
So many people want to come on this, and I'm really excited for it. So thank you, and follow me at pickleball.chick on Instagram. And make sure you come back for the next episode. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Thank you so much.
L.O.T.E.
L.O.T.E.